Sparkle time! Hi guys, it's Katie, and for today's video, I'm going to show you how I made this sparkly top, which I love because, you know, y'all know I love sparkles in everything I do. I'm gonna show you how I took a longer form of this top that I thrifted. I think I thrifted it for like maybe $4, maybe. And now let's be real here, I feel like I'm Cinderella. I'm a Disney princess and I love it. So let's get on with the video. Oh my god. This has a really interesting fit to it. It doesn't really fit the way I thought it would fit. See, I love the sleeves, but I also am not sure how like practical they would be. Like, check this beadwork. Look at the beadwork on the sleeves. I'm surprised that it's like really narrow. Like, that's kind of what's interesting to me, is how narrow it is. And see, what I was thinking about doing, honestly, was turning this into like a crop top of some sort, but now I'm not really sure. It's also oddly tight in here. Okay, so I could pull this stuff up all the way and make this part a skirt. I'm starting this project by cutting that bottom part of the skirt from the top of the dress. Next, I'm going to pull out the zipper that's in the top part of the dress. I'm going to pull it out completely, separating it from both the inside layer and the outside layer that's sparkly. Next, I'm going to cut the sleeves off the dress, and I'm going to cut on the side that is the top and not the sleeves to keep that seam still intact. I'm going to take one of my previous patterns that was a crop top, and I'm just going to change the top seams in the shoulders a little bit to accommodate the new sleeves that I have. And then I'm going to fold it over in half and just make sure that both sides are the same and that they are equal. The back is a little bit taller than the front is, so I'm using the back as a general pattern to cut the whole thing. And this beadwork is crazy intense, so I'm doing just a rough cut to get around and get the general shape of what I'm looking for. Then I'm going to go in, and on the front side, I'm using the front pattern, and I'm going to cut around that in a more concise way. And then I'm going to layer both the top and bottom patterns again so that I get the height of the back of the pattern, but the cut of the front pattern. And then for the sleeves, I'm cutting out that little detail that gives the sleeve a poofy element, because I do want to keep the top part of the sleeve intact, but I don't want the poof. So you can see I've got that seam still. I love this skirt part, but it's a little bit too big because it used to be by my ankles and now I want it at my waist. So I'm going to use some elastic to give it an elastic waistband, which will also gather the material. One note, you want to go a little bit smaller when using elastic, whereas I erred on the side of caution and made it bigger, and then the skirt ended up being too big, so just a note. And then using the quartering method, which is simply where you match the back of the elastic up to the back of the skirt, and then you quarter it. So you match the two side seams and then the front seam. You're going to stretch your elastic across the top of the waistband, and this is going to cinch it in. Now because this piece is so beaded, you actually can't sew very effectively over the beadwork. So I'm going to seam rip off the beads that are going to be on my new seams. So in this case, this is going to be the top of the shoulder. So I need to pull the extra beadwork off so that I can do a clean stitch across. And yes, guys, this does take forever. Now for measuring the sleeves. I took a dress that I like the length of the sleeve. It is a little bit longer than I normally would pick, but this is just a general guide. Then I'm going to try it on to see if I like the length. In this case, I definitely needed to make it a little bit shorter, so that's why I'm now cutting it. Now I'm going to attach the sleeve onto the top, and I tried it on to make sure I like the way it fit. And now I'm going to cut the other sleeve to be the same. So now I'm going to do a lot of hand sewing. So pretty much anywhere there was a raw edge, I'm going to have to hand sew it down because, like I said, the beadwork can't go under the machine.
Can I go down there and get some pink if you want to create a pink dress? Do you only need white thread for that? This how far this thread can go. I'm pretending it's a zip line.
And you can see my little niece here trying to help me as I just hand sew on these sleeves. So to hem the raw edges on the sleeves, I'm gonna have to do the same thing where I'm cutting off some of these beads so that the beads aren't just itching your arm. And then I'm going to hand sew all around with my needle and thread to clean up that raw edge.
About to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action. What we
So that is all I have for you guys for the actual tutorial part. One thing to note, I am a procrastinator. It is my thing in life to procrastinate. I've had this dress for a long time and I was like, I'll get to it. Night before I was like, I guess I'm going to be sewing this together right now. And I was sending my friend who was also going to the event pictures with no sleeve attached and stuff. And I was like, this will work out. I promise, right? This will totally work out. So this whole tutorial only took me 1.5 nights to do because that was all the time I had. And I made this after going to work and coming back, so it is totally possible. I also had my little niece, you'll see her hands in the picture. She was there, so I had a niece trying to sew with me, and then I had not a ton of time. This is something totally doable if you were in a time crunch. But basically I took the sleeves before and I made them less poofy because they were really poofy before, and then just hand sewed this over. This beadwork you cannot put under the sewing machine, so that is something to keep in mind if you are buying something really sparkly like this, is that you can't easily sew over beadwork. I mean, you can try, but it is super difficult. If you can minimize the amount of sewing you have to do in general, that is definitely better, because this stuff, the struggle was real. So on the back, I left this part open, and because I'm just a slacker in all things in life, I just honestly safety pinned it back together here. You could always sew a cute little like pearl bead to it and a loop, and you could make it look a lot better than I did, but I have long hair which always covers that, so I was like, I'm not doing any more hand sewing. It's not happening. And then I will also tell you guys, I did cheat a little bit. I'll be real. The sewing here is not my finest hour, but this stuff is so slippery that it was really difficult to sew, so I didn't want to break the original hem on it. I just sewed straight over it, and it actually ended up being a little bit too long, so I will have to eventually do it correctly and shorten it. But for now, it really seems to work, and I have worn this to a work function. I've worn it out and about. I've worn it a bunch of times, so yeah, it's fine the way it is. But I love the way this turned out, and definitely with my like headband and my ridiculous curly hair, people were like, you look like a princess, you look like Cinderella, which of course I was like, do I now? Tell me more about how I look like a Disney princess. And I mean, what princess wouldn't be complete without just like beadwork for days? So one thing to note, I don't know how I managed to do this because elastic should not be this difficult, but while I was measuring this thing, I mean, this skirt is absolutely too big. Like, it is just so ridiculously too big. And like, I'm the one who measured it. It shouldn't be this big, but it's just ridiculously too big. I would say when you're measuring your elastic, I think what I did is I like pulled it around and then I added a little bit extra because I was like, I want to be able to eat in it and I want to not feel like constrained, but in reality it just sort of like falls off because it's just too big, and I end up like needing to pin it about that much. So when dealing with elastic, try and make sure you get it as close to your actual measurement as possible. I know it's really tempting to be like, I'll err on the side of a little bit bigger because what if I mess up when sewing? But you probably won't mess up while sewing, and you'll probably just end up with a skirt that's too big, that you've custom made too big, which is just sad when I really think about it. And another thing to note, when I first tried it on, I actually really loved the sleeves. And I know one of the cop-outs to when we remake clothes is that we just chop sleeves off and kind of shorten it, and we're like, oh, it's fine. We're like, oh, that's a remake. And in reality, you guys are like, you barely changed it at all. And I really did want to keep the sleeves. I was like, they're beautiful. They have so much beadwork on them. But when I tried them on and I was like, hey mom, how do you like it? She was like, it does not look modern, it doesn't look updated, the sleeves have to go. So my compromise was making shorter sleeves that look adorable, but that is why I could not keep the long sleeves, even though I secretly wanted to keep them. But I think that also makes it perfect because then I can wear this to functions where it might be hotter and we're going into summer. So in reality, you don't want sleeves, it's fine. Fine, guys. If you guys like this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button down below and tell me in the comments, who is your favorite Disney prince or princess or Disney character in general? It could be an animal, it doesn't matter. Whose costume do you love the most? Because, you know, I might be making some costumes. Anyway, I hope you guys have a fantastic week, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!